The Oscar-winning director Guillermo del Toro creates a beautifully unique adaptation of the classic fairy tale Pinocchio. The stop-motion animation breathes life into the film, rendering a stunning atmosphere, one that at times plays a sublime rendition with our heartstrings when exploring motifs of death and grief. While the story of Pinocchio as we know it, along with its core elements of innocence and naivety, are maintained, it is a synthesis of both the surrounding scenery, which is amplified by stop motion, the time period and beautiful character development that allows Del Toro's adaptation to be so powerful. Del Toro's adaptation is set in fascist Italy during the interwar years. Therefore, there is a running, reoccurring motif of bravery and manhood, which ironically and perhaps wrongfully gives Pinocchio a purpose and therefore elevates him to more than just a wooden puppet. In the eyes of the Podesta, Pinocchio was the perfect soldier to serve Mussolini thanks to his immortality, which isn't as much praise to Pinocchio as much as it was degradation to the Podesta's son, Candlewick, who craved nothing more than the admiration of his father. This is directly mirrored with the circus master Count Volpe's encounter with Pinocchio, once again giving him a purpose of being a star in his circus, when in reality Pinocchio would become a money-producing slave for Volpe's business by being a revolutionary, living, stringless puppet, where ironically, instead of strings, Pinocchio was facing the entrapment of shackles. Just like Candlewick, Spazzatura, the monkey puppet master, was pushed into the background upon Pinocchio's arrival, creating envy and anger. Both of these events show just how naive and susceptible to manipulation Pinocchio is, as would be expected from a child who has not experienced the world, proving his innocence. Naturally, during their first encounters, both Candlewick and Spazzatura felt spite towards Pinocchio, which stemmed from their jealousy. But what is beautiful is how Pinocchio's pureness turns this hate to amicable friendship, which inspires the original perpetrators to take matters into their own hands and distinguish right from wrong. Both Candlewick standing up to his father and Spazzatura standing up to Count Volpe being prime examples of Pinocchio's positive influence. This is great character development, as when we first meet Pinocchio, we are troubled with a mischievous brat and begin to feel annoyed and sympathetic towards Geppetto. However, as the story unfolds, Pinocchio learns and develops, creating strong bonds with the characters surrounding him. And just like with Geppetto, Candlewick and Spazzatura, we, the audience, also begin to open up to Pinocchio. Through this character development, Del Toro achieves turning Pinocchio from a wooden puppet to a young boy, fulfilling Pinocchio's desires through great screenplay. Further amplifying Pinocchio's likability and ability to change hearts is his relation with Sebastian J. Cricket, the narrator of the story. The cricket sticks by Pinocchio's side and tries his absolute best to guide and advise Pinocchio. Despite Pinocchio's disobedience, the cricket does not give up on the wooden boy, not only because his house is in Pinocchio's heart, both metaphorically and literally, but because he made a promise to the wood sprite in return for her to grant a single of the cricket's wishes, which could be interpreted as selfish, but ultimately the wish is the most selfless act possible in bringing Pinocchio back to life. Furthermore, the attention to detail from Del Toro is worthy of acknowledgement, starting with the depiction of both the wood sprite and her sister Death as biblically accurate angels with their wings being covered in eyes. The fact that Geppetto's son was named Carlo is a subtle tribute to the original writer of Pinocchio, and the fact that both Carlo and Pinocchio are voiced by the same voice actor, Gregory Mann, is a nice touch, assisting to not only allow Pinocchio to resolve Geppetto's mourning, but also permit Pinocchio to become the boy he so dreams to be. The cycle of life and death being depicted in a cyclical structure through the appearance of the pine cone, which led to the death of Carlo, the creation of Pinocchio, and the very last scene showing a pine cone dropping from the tree, suggesting that perhaps Pinocchio achieved becoming a real boy, as his life also eventually comes to a halt. Also, not so subtly, the mocking of the fascist regime, not only with the depiction of the tiny Benito Mussolini, but Pinocchio's beautiful performance ridiculing the dictator is noteworthy. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is the longest stop-motion animated film in existence and took a whopping 940 days to create, which is just over 2.5 years. It is safe to say that all the effort put into the creation of the models, scenery, and every individual emotion was more than worth it. The fact that stop motion was the chosen medium for this piece of art allowed Guillermo del Toro to become Geppetto, creating a true link between him and his creation. As Del Toro put it himself, that stop motion is the most sacred and magical form of animation, which is very fitting for Pinocchio. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is a beautiful film in every possible manner. Del Toro creates such heartbreaking emotional scenes that it's almost impossible not to tear up. Through the discussed uniqueness amplified by the stop motion animation, I was very pleased to see that Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio achieved an Oscar for the best animated featured film. Deserved is an understatement. I highly recommend seeing this piece of art with your own eyes, as I believe my review is only a prelude to what you will see on the screen.